Hey, sorry, I forgot to mute there. Hey, Eric, how you doing? Hope your shoulder's feeling good.
Thanks, Bob.
Or better anyway, at least. Hey, I was asking JD about this. You've said that you never expected to start this lineup, but 2 years ago, you probably never expected to start four guards and play five guards sometimes. Maybe you did, but what do you think? You're obviously flexible to figure out how best to use your personnel. What do you think about what you're doing now and what you did last year, and kind of how do you come to those decisions?
I mean, I think that, I think one, having a pro background, whether there's trades or free agency or guys getting called up or not getting sent down, just the minor league / NBA, you're used to changing rosters and trying to figure out what's good for your team. And obviously, you mentioned a couple of years ago that, our team turned into a 4-guard lineup with Adrio playing the 5, and he was really a small forward. And then this year it's turned into a bigger lineup. I know that, the big thing is, at least usually you're thinking about how do you get your 5 best players out there, but this year has been a little bit more, how do we come up with more of an identity and a style of play? And so that bigger lineup has given us that. I think that, when you take kind of a 360-degree view and look at your team and where we were after we had lost 3 games in a row, maybe, Trey Wade just kind of became a guy that wasn't, an impact player, that we didn't really have that piece figured out of how he would fit with the other 4 guys. And, he's been real critical, to us in a lot of our defensive situations that have happened over the last 6 games as we game plan and prepare for an upcoming opponent.
And with JD being maybe your only true guard, I mean, I know Stanley and Adisa probably wings, but Jalen handles the ball well for a big guy. Those other guys, it seems like a pretty good ball handling team, even with the size. How do you feel about that? Maybe just the chemistry they've got, plus with the guys coming off the bench, you seem to have a pretty good rotation now you can go with.
Yeah, I mean, I call it a team-friendly style, because all 5 of those guys are willing to share the ball. I don't feel like any of those 5 guys are over-dribbling. Certainly, we feel like, because it's happened in games where Jalen Williams has actually brought the ball up the floor for us and initiated offenses. It hasn't happened a lot, but we do feel comfortable enough that he can bring the ball up against any center in the league. Certainly, Trey Wade is a great ball mover for us, Bob. And I think that Stanley is used to having the ball in his hands so much. He's used to seeing double teams when he was at South Dakota. So we feel comfortable with him having the ball in his hands. And then obviously, Adisi's done a great job as a decision maker for us. And you're talking really about Wade, Adisi, and Jalen Williams. Those 3 guys in particular just never over dribble. And that really helps your offensive spacing as well.
And then JD just said he thinks he's going to have about 50 people there. Heck, you guys might have as many people there as Georgia does. What do you think about him going back to his home state to play? How fired up he is? And just what do you thought about the season he's put together? Really become a pretty good all-around player, everything.
Well, first of all, Bob, thanks for telling me that he might have 50 people, because I got a bunch coming, with my wife being from Atlanta and her mom coming and her brother and her sister, and knowing that Chance Moore is from the ATL as well, and then Trey Wade. So I'm sure our ticket allotment will go very, very quickly. But look, JD's had a great season so far. I think anytime that you're going and playing close to home, you want everybody to stay focused and understand that, yes, you might be playing in front of family or friends or whatever, but, you got to get yourself ready to play the game and not have any distractions as well.
Yeah, I got a couple more if time allows. I'll turn it back to Kyle. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, you go.
Eric, if you look at the schedule, just the wins and losses, it's easy to say, it's the same thing as last year. They're doing it again, slow SEC start and then going on a streak. But when you take everything else into account that the fans don't see, do you feel like it's similar to last January, or is it, a totally different thing?
No, I think every year, your team takes on, a different personality. And, we have this road game coming up, which is so difficult to win on the road. We saw what Georgia did their last home game by beating Alabama. Our schedule is really difficult moving forward. And, you can't say, well, last year we did this, and so that's going to be duplicated, because every game takes on its own kind of theme. In those 40 minutes, there's a lot of stuff that you might have planned and it doesn't go as planned. And so you got to have a plan B and a plan C and be ready to adjust in each 40-minute game, let alone when you look at how you played, in January or February the year before. But I will say this, our film sessions of late have been relaxed. People are starting to understand exactly what the expectations are. Our film sessions have been funner. We've created internal awards behind closed doors that we do with the guys of late. So, I think that along with winning, 6 games in a row, you do build some confidence, camaraderie, but you can never lose your competitive desire and your competitive nature, even though we played well, the last 6 games.
Scotty?
And Coach, just talking about JD for a second. How have you seen him react throughout the year to being the guy, at the top of the other team's scouting report, pretty much each game? Like, how do you feel like he's handled that?
Probably a 10 out of 10, Scotty. He doesn't flinch, man. I mean, he's steady. He is the focal point. Obviously, we know that of other teams' scouting reports. He's a focal point defensively, but he really is so tough-minded. Like it's never concerned me at all. Even at the beginning of the year, how he would react. I think he likes playing in big moments. He has great internal confidence. So I think he's done a great job. His same personality as last year. It's not often you can have a guy come off the bench one year, be your 6th man, then he's a leading scorer in the league the next year, and you see zero difference in his personality, both behind closed doors in practice, and I see very little difference, when he's playing in a game either.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier today about a couple of games in December. You got upset a little bit after a few of them with Stan for maybe giving up too many threes or not defending inbounds plays properly. Just how have you seen his individual defense grow and his role in you guys' defensive success develop over the last month?
Yeah, I think really, Scotty, Trey, Adise, and Stan, all 3 of those guys have kind of figured out what we want done. Adise has been awesome. And he's changed too. I mean, he wasn't contesting threes like we wanted. He was giving up a little bit too much airspace against, shooters. But Stan, I mean, we were very honest in post-game assessments that he needed to rebound better, especially defensive rebound better, as well as defend. And you're talking about, like, Stan was strictly a 4 and was playing a little bit of 5 early in the year. And now he's played almost exclusively at the small forward spot. So his defensive assignments have become more perimeter oriented and what you would consider harder defensive assignments, yet his productivity defensively has grown. And he's actually playing better defense as a 3-man than he was at the 4 or even some small ball 5. So he's really picked it up, Scotty, tremendously on the defensive end.
Let me know if you've got more questions in the chat. Hutch?
Yeah, Coach, Georgia only has the one SEC win, but it was against Alabama. Is that something you're able to kind of point to and show the guys like, hey, they may not have the best record, but they're capable of beating anybody on any given night?
Yeah, I think anybody in our league is, Hutch, can beat anybody. And certainly their last home game, we've talked a lot about, we kind of showed our team the 5 bullet points on how Georgia beat them. And then on the flip side, the 5 bullet points on maybe why Alabama lost that game. But certainly number 3 at that small forward slash. They'll play him at some 4 small ball. Can really score the ball. He's 9th in the league in scoring, and Bauman's 20th in the league in scoring. And obviously we know him from playing against him at San Jose State, and in 3 balls made, he's 2nd in the SEC. So we've got to stay attached to him, and Bridges inside's done a really good job. 8th in the league in offensive rebounds, 3rd in the SEC in field goal percentage. So Jalen will be assigned to him, and he's got to do a good job inside. But this is a team that's 4th in the SEC in field goal percentage. So we've got to guard them. We've got to get back in transition and do a good job on the defensive backboards as well.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of guys we haven't seen a lot lately, Jackson and KK Robinson. How have they handled like the lack of playing time? How are they looking in practice, and how are they coming along?
Yeah, I mean, I think both those guys, young players, sophomores, continue to work. I think the big thing right now is, when you got a group of 6 players that are playing so many minutes, we didn't practice yesterday. How much are you going to do today? And then probably not going to do much, tomorrow other than mental reps. So it's important that those guys continue to build their confidence up, both externally, meaning the coaches, staff, as well as internally. And you got to get extra work in, obviously, if we're, coming into February now and practices aren't going to quite be as long. And certainly we're not scrimmaging right now in practice. So it's important for everybody to stay ready. So your number, when it's called, you're ready to go out and produce. And like I've mentioned before, Trey Wade got a minute. That minute turned into 5 minutes. And then before you know it, you look at a stat sheet and all of a sudden he's playing 38 minutes and starting. And so when he was given the opportunity, he seized the opportunity and the team won. And I think that's important too, is when you hit the floor, how are you playing individually? And then what is the team doing when you're on the floor? And I think Trey Wade's a great example for all the guys on our roster, whether it's Connor or Chance Moore, everybody to continue to try to evolve their game. And like I said, stay really ready mentally so that when called upon, because no one knows how a game's going to evolve or what rotations are going to evolve to over the next month.
Curtis?
Hey, Coach, I had a couple more quick ones on JD. Just curious, he's run into a couple games where he's had early foul trouble and had to sit. Is that part of the risk reward of being a high steals guy? And is there an adjustment that you think he needs to make to maybe avoid that without giving up too much aggressiveness on that end?
Yeah, Curtis, I mean, I think that number one is I don't have the stats today after the weekend games, but I know going in, he was leading the league in steals. And so I think when you're that high of a takeaway player, there is some risk reward with that. He sets the tone on the ball for us defensively while we have a bigger lineup kind of playing behind him. So, I've wanted him to be aggressive because he's got, a back line at the off guard, small forward and power forward that's got some good size. But certainly we don't want him to get into foul trouble. And, one of them was on a reach/gamble. That was his first one against West Virginia. And then the second one, was just kind of got tangled up and there was a trip called, which, could have gone either way probably. But yeah, we need we certainly don't want him to score 6 straight points or get us off to a hot start. And then, because we're going to sit anybody that has 2 fouls in the first half. We need him to play more than 3 minutes for sure.
And then it seems like when guys get that foul trouble, they have to sit for an extended period of time. Sometimes it's difficult for them to catch a rhythm when they do come back in. It doesn't seem like that's really been a problem with JD. I wonder what your thoughts are on how he's responded in those situations. And do you think maybe coming off the bench in that 6-man role last year helps him when he's in that spot?
JD's just a baller, man. So, I said something to one of the assistants at halftime of the last game because they asked if I thought that, he was going to be out of rhythm or out of sync. And I laughed and said, well, haven't you played pickup ball and understand if you lose, you could sit for an hour and a half and then you got to go out and try to win so that you can stay on the court. JD's kind of one of those guys that has that mentality of just let me get on the floor and I'll take care of it, what I need to take care of. So he's not a guy that I ever worry about, that mentally he's going to think that he needs warm up minutes or he's out of sync or out of rhythm. He's just a straight baller, and he just wants to play. I think he's oblivious sometimes to some of the other things surrounding him, other than I want to go, win my individual matchup and have my team win the game.
Wrap us up, Bob.
Eric, you obviously wouldn't have recruited JD if you didn't think he would be a good player for you, but has he exceeded expectations? I mean, he's probably one of the top, 3 or 4 players in the SEC. And how far do you think his game has progressed since he got here as a redshirt to where he is now? And where have you seen the most growth?
Yeah, I think that when we originally recruited him, it started at Nevada, and we felt like he could be a starting point guard for us off a team that was, ranked in the top 10 for 17 straight weeks, and we knew that we were losing both Martin twins, and that we needed a player that had potential to really put points on the board. But his growth, Bob, I don't know if I've been around a college player and seen such growth in such little time. I mean, he's so much more disciplined on both sides of the ball. He understands offensively that you got to get a shot on goal. He understands our offense. I mean, the growth, I could go on and on. We would need Kyle to try to go down there and stop practice and halt it for an hour if I wanted to go through all the things that he's improved on. Because when he came here, he was an ultra talented player who really needed to understand concepts on both sides. And he's still learning, to be quite honest. He's still evolving as a point guard. He's a scoring point guard right now. But I think that he's even going to get better and better at being a true point guard and understanding how to get some of the shots that he gets for himself, how to get those for his teammates. I think that's the next part of his evolution as a point guard. But I can't praise him enough for how much he's grown as little things people wouldn't know about, like when he stunts, when the ball's dribbled to him, when he cracks down and smashes, if Jalen Williams goes to take a charge or to block a shot, how he smashes down on the other team's big. From a concept standpoint, he's, like I've said, grown as much as any guy I've been around.
Yeah, one weather question. it's hard to believe it's so beautiful today, but they're talking about ice and snow Wednesday night into Thursday when you guys would be trying to come home. Are y'all packing extra clothes? And have you got contingency plans if you can't get home after the game immediately, like you normally would?
Well, I'm hoping we get home. I can tell you that. But no, I leave the contingency plans up to Riley Hall. So if anything goes, awry, then, Riley will be the guy that will have to answer all those questions. But we do want to get back for sure. We are looking at the weather report, but we're most concerned with how do we go to Athens and get a win. And if we have to, have an extended stay there, that's fine. But I'm sure that the players would certainly like that after a win rather than the other results.
Yeah, it would be safe to probably take another day's worth of clothes, probably. Be safe. I would. It's better to not need them than if you need them and don't have them,
I'm going to stick with my small suitcase, Bob, and rather than have a negative attitude, I'm going to stick with some positivity, which does not happen a lot with me, that we're going to make it back home.
Okay, well, safety, that's the number one thing, is be safe.
Well, any of you guys that are traveling there, same thing, safety. We want you guys to get back here safe too.
Thanks. I'm sure Kyle will go down and run practice if you need him to.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, you guys. Thanks, Kyle.
Okay.